Come on, he's not screaming because he's burning. He's just hopped up on stim.
Welcome back today. I just wanted to give my thoughts and opinions about the new patch because after playing in quite the heater of a storm in both in-game and IRL, I have a bunch of new technology for the new Viper Commando Warbond and the new Modifier. But before we get started, I just want to thank everyone for all the love and support recently. I genuinely appreciate it, like all the kind words, everything. I just thank you, and thank everybody for showing up for the lives. I just appreciate all you guys coming to hang out with me. For now, though, we gotta light this off with the new mission modifier. It'll appear like this on the planet mod list. I don't really understand why this was a hidden change, and I don't think this massive gameplay change should have been hidden at all. But this means that if you're on bugs, it's Shrieker patrols, and if you're on bots, it's Gunship patrols, meaning that this is the first enemy modifier and a massive step in the right direction for a proper difficulty slider, so that way you can understand what kind of builds you need to take in to deal with all the enemies. There was already a few ways to guess at what would be on the planet, but it was fairly random and kind of unreliable. But now that you can consistently see what it will be, it lets you bring a balanced loadout and just have way more fun with the mission. There's also more stratagem options than there ever has been for Helldive difficulty, and I've always been in the mindset of bringing a balanced loadout to deal with 99% of situations, and the amount of tools we have now feels really good. I updated all my builds on stream the other night, and that scrolling link was locked into the Discord right as we did it, but if you need some ideas, it ranges from things that will trivialize any mission to just fun and thematic things that can easily beat Helldive difficulty. So all that stuff is linked down below for you already. The only thing I need to make now is a heavy machine gun build, so if you have any fun ideas, please just drop them in the comments down below. But I've also seen some people complaining about the new spawns, and I don't really think that the new spawns are the problem. After reviewing some old VODs, it's very similar to patch 1 spawns, but with a little bit higher of a ramp on lighter enemies after you finish the main objectives. Versus the bots, I still think there's too many Devastators and that their accuracy is overtuned, but overall, I think that the changes are a lot better and the most fun I've personally had with the game since they butchered it in March. Now, I'm also not trying to defend garbage mechanics like the bots shooting through the walls or how frustrating gunships are to play against, because they are flying through walls, and in general, the Y-axis in the game has always been pretty horrendous, and I do think they need to have more primary weapons that are viable for killing them. So I think gunships do need a nerf, and I think that the engines on them should be able to be shot up by something as simple as a regular Liberator. If there's a 5 fun ship patrol that you engage without a support weapon, you're using almost your entire ammo economy to deal with them with a select few primaries, and that just feels bad compared to the Shrieker patrols, which are actually fun to fight against. The main issue that I think is happening is that there's a lot of broken and cheesy mechanics that feel bad to play against that artificially make the game harder that shouldn't even exist in the first place, like the bot accuracy or them shooting through walls with that accuracy, and then the general aggression radiuses just feel really bad to play against a lot of the time. The ragdolling and gun punch also feel frustrating and have no real place in the game, and I don't really think stims should be interruptible in medium plus armor, because hearing it go off and then nothing happening is just confusing and feels bad to play. So I'm in the mindset that after they fix these garbage mechanics, the game will feel a lot better overall and just be better to play, which is what I expected from this update that took 2 months to make. But they really didn't make that many fixes to enemies that make the game feel bad. And as a comparison, I look back to patch 1 again to see all the old stream kill farm games and just remembered how good the characters used to feel without like the insane gun punching and the insta-kill headshots. And it really makes me wonder why they're holding on to this direction of the game so badly. Because if they just focused on technical fixes to bad mechanics and the crashes, this update would have been almost perfect. So if we just go back to patch 1's mechanics, I think the game will be in the best spot it ever has been. And as we get more enemy modifiers and they remove the arbitrary cooldown stuff that makes the game annoying to play, it'll just end up being more fun long term. I also see some people complaining about difficulty, but again, I think most of that's tied to some of the broken enemy mechanics, and think that if you are dropping in and you're like pre-planning your mission for 5 minutes, you're just overthinking most of it. Every time you drop in, it should just be on the edge of a like orange objective, because it'll just have the least resistance on the map, except for those times where you have like the double jammers when you load in. That just feels bad. But I have tons of examples of me just dropping in on those objectives live, and when I'm not playing solo, I usually just play with people from my community and chat randomly, and we have no problems slamming hell dives. I remember the first time I played with Steve, my man was like level 25. I took him into his first hell dive for a high kill farm game, and this is something we do pretty regularly, and you can see it when we push the 4200 kill game. We just turn the game into a horde defense and just have fun with it, and everyone who's joined for those have just had tons of fun with it. I get awesome messages from you guys all the time, and I really appreciate all the love, and I'm just happy you can have fun coming to vibe in a different environment with a mindset of just having fun playing the game, not taking it too seriously, and just smashing everything. So if you're struggling with the new update, try adapting your build or playstyle. But moving on, we also have to talk about the new drill mission, which is also very easy to cheese. My first impressions after soloing a few times are that it's just really fun. I think when it first comes down and then the box pops open, it's just like, I don't know why, I just think that's really cute. And the drill explodes after the vent ends, so you can kill stuff with it, and it also leaves a massive hole, kind of teasing the new Wormy Boy. So I'm always just happy with stuff like this. And when new missions get added, it's also something else for me to find like cheesy mechanics for. And that's one of my favorite things just about games in general, is finding ways to break everything. So if you do want a free ride in this mission, you can call in the drill, punch the code in or whatever, and then run away, kiting all 3 of the breaches that spawn through a choke, and you can kill all the enemies. Now, if you manage to stay at range, it will complete the sequence and you could just finish it. But if you run about 100 meters away, it'll stop the total count of the objective from going up, but it also cancels all of the breaches. So if you clean up all the enemies, you can walk back and finish the objective for basically for free. Now, moving on to the Viper Commandos Warbond, at a glance, I saw a lot of people saying it wasn't worth it or that it was bad. And if you base it off the starting AR that you get with it, by comparison to other things like the Tendi, I'd agree. It kind of misses completely, and a higher ROF DPS Liberator just doesn't do anything special. I think that if they would have put like an underslung grenade launcher on this thing, or like an underslung shotgun as like the secondary fire, that would have been awesome, because right now it just doesn't really hit the mark for me. And I think they need to start doing some more fun things with the newer weapons. Against the bugs, the light patrol management just wasn't there, even in burst fire. But like, I don't want to burst fire a super high rate of fire SMG. I just want to spray it down. And against the bots, it kind of loses that accuracy compared to its counterparts. So not really the weapon for me. But the new shotgun pistol, I fell in love with this thing almost right away. I think it's goated because you can let just one shot at a time and just blast away with it with a high stagger and just keep everything off of you. The run and gun tech versus bugs feels really good, and shooting 3 shots at the same time lets you insta-kill stalkers, which feels amazing. It's basically the perfect panic button for me versus the bugs, and even against the bots it feels great. Berserkers get shredded by it, and again, you could stagger a Devastator to stop them from insta-killing you, or you could one-tap them in the head with it. So I don't think you should sleep on this thing, because in my opinion, it's the most fun pistol to use in the entire game. And for me, it might just be the best because of my playstyle. Now, as for the new throwing knife, it takes up your grenade slot. You either get 8 or 4 billion of them if you feel like it, because they might have fixed the normal grenade glitch, but they didn't fix it for the throwing knife. These also don't recharge, and for some reason, they can also kill charger behemoths in like 4 throws to the leg and Hulk in like a couple of back shots. And they also one-shot most enemies in the head, which is interesting, and they dismember bugs, which is really cool. It also bypasses shield, which has some implications for the Illuminate. They also don't recharge, and one of my biggest problems with these is because they don't recharge, you also can't pick them up off the ground, even though they stay persistent on the map. So it doesn't really make sense. And I also think that there should be like a melee attack for them. So both of these seem like massive oversights, and I think they should be added as mechanics to it. Now, I've also seen a bunch of different posts about the new armor and how it's broken or doesn't work. And the melee damage is always just going to be a meme until they add melee weapons. And as for the handling, it's like a 15 to 20% increase while you're shooting. So you can see the Dominator's reticle is catching up faster, making it easier to get snapshots off. And it honestly does feel pretty good in heated moments. But in general, I don't think that the small buff is worth taking it over like something just more useful. And I think that it should be more melee focused and let us hit a breakpoint to like one-shot hunters, for instance, without having to use muscle enhancement. You also can't one-shot hunters with both of those combined. But the best part about the entire Warbond is the new booster. This makes you so ungodly fast and super tanky that it just feels really good. It also has some interesting screen effects, to say the least. And when I originally predicted what this was going to be good and bad for, I was like almost completely wrong. Damage reduction is actually really good. It lets you tank the Gatling barrage from a Strider. It counters almost every cheesy thing that they do, and that's really all I could ask for. So this Warbond is more focused on fun stuff and ends up having 2 of the better pickups in the game. So I don't think it's a waste of super credits at all. And like usual, we have my priority for buying Warbonds after the changes, starting with Cutting Edge. You get 3 amazing primaries and the stun grenade, which hard carries every game you take it to. And if you're a newer player, being able to pause the game or slow it down goes a really long way. Steel Veterans is second because you get the Dominator and Fire Shotgun, which just do big damage. Then Polar Patriots has the Impact Fire, which is great for pretty much everything. The Pummeler is one of the best stealth weapons in the game, and the Mega Buff Tenderizer just feels good to use. But when it comes down to the last 2, I'd rather just have the Viper Commando Warbond over Democratic Detonation, just for the stim booster. Moving on, we also had some recoil changes with this update. So if you're crouched or prone, you can basically be a beam with any weapon, and it almost completely removes sway in a lot of cases. The new heavy machine gun buffs also feel even better because of this, and you can kind of just spray down on max RPM without even thinking too much about it. It just doesn't even move. The main problem I have with the HMG though is like it's so fun to shoot and it feels so cool to like blast everything with, but you just have to spam reload and that feels bad. So I think the magazine size needs to be doubled, or there needs to be a belt-fed backpack. And I also don't sympathize with any people or devs that think that anything should feel bad to use in the game. And that's why I'm really happy they took the direction of buffing a popular strat like Precision Strike instead of nerfing it. They also mega buffed the Gatling Barrage to feel like it should. Almost every change we talked about in the balance feedback document got implemented, and we'll be updating our balance feedback document again on Tuesday live on stream like we usually do. And when we used to run the Gatling Barrage, we'd make sure that 2 people brought it, so that way we could both throw it at the same time. And as a team strat, it was mid, but it was really cool and it was great area denial. So now that it functions by itself, it just feels pretty much how it always should have felt. And it's still my favorite area denial. So I'm just really happy that they went through with this change, because this is one of the best feeling stratagems to use in the game because it has such a low cooldown, so you can just keep using it. I think that this is the general direction they should keep taking with everything. The only problem and the only thing that I'm worried about is that I've seen a lot of companies take 1 step forward and 3 steps back the next update. So only time's going to tell whether Arrowhead did change for the better, and I honestly hope they did, because a lot of the changes this update were just really good, but the big standouts were the Tendy Tickler is no longer Tickled. Its buffs feel amazing to use, and the hidden changes to the Blitzer to shoot over stuff a lot easier and prioritize weak points over center mass makes it feel way better to use, and the Rocket Sentry buffs make it easily the best turret in the game. And the last thing I want to talk about was new buff Charger Behemoths. It's basically just like a tankier armored version of the one that you used to see in like lower tier missions as like a kill objective, but it now has a chance to just spawn in Helldive difficulty, and it just takes more damage to kill it, like 2 regular rockets or quasars to the head, or 1 spear shot. I use the spear all the time now, and just one-shotting these feels really good. It also rips the armor off the leg in one shot, and I was able to consistently open their legs up with 1 quasar shot, but I've seen some posts of people's not working like that, so I don't know what the problem with that is there, but I'm assuming we'll figure it out eventually. We also ran into a mismatch of normal chargers and behemoth chargers, but they weren't really a problem, and I think it was just more fun to fight against because it changed the game a little more dynamically. But that's going to be all for now, and I wish you guys the best of luck out there.